If someone tells you not to do something and not to eat something, your brain goes into an abundancy mindset, and it's going to binge on those things that you can't have. It's going to be like, oh my God, you told me I can't have Oreos. Then all of a sudden you're thinking about Oreos. And then all of a sudden you've binged on Oreos because your brain's told you can't have it. Like, my biggest advice would be to reject diets and diet mentality, because it's not going to serve you. And B, just focus on, as best you can, consistent nutrition, consistent movement that you enjoy, because that is going to be the ultimate driver for you. If you enjoy running, then run. If you enjoy yoga, do yoga. And just maintaining consistent, healthy nutrition that, allows you to eat cookies and ice cream and, whatever it may be, or chips, but also having a balance with food that nourishes your body and soul.
Hello and welcome to Nashville Misty, this special edition of Summer Babe. When I tell you we are going to get you in tip-top shape for summer, that's what's happening on this podcast. But first, intros. My name is Misty Perry. I'm a local Nashville real estate agent affiliate broker. I have a blog on mistyperry.com, and I also manage my two sons who are actors and models. On the side, I have different side businesses. I would consider myself a soulpreneur. I'm very interested in personal development and growth, and a little bit deeper than that, how we interact with the universe around us and law of attraction, manifesting, things of that nature. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, go to mistyperry.com, mistyperry.com, and you can see my blog, my other podcast. I have a sister podcast that's strictly for personal growth, and I would absolutely love for you guys to come check it out. If you'd like to get a hold of me, hello@mistyperry.com, and you can follow me on socials. I'm Nashville Misty on all socials. So this podcast is primarily pop culture. So we mix a little bit of lifestyle, a little bit of snarky gossip, and a whole heaping scoop of pop culture. And that is this podcast you're listening to. Today I'm not taping in my normal spot. If my voice does sound different, I guess this would be considered an office space. I'm in the office space in a kind of grand open room. So if my voice does sound different, that's why. The neighborhood I live in, when I tell you that they nonstop do landscaping here, and it's Friday morning. It's Friday freaking morning. And where I normally tape, I have a little insulated, it's not a studio, but it's a corner of a room, and everything's set up, everything's perfect. So I just kept waiting for the noise to die down this morning. And even if you can barely hear it on the microphone, that landscaper, weed eater buzz, it may sound like to your natural ear, you may barely hear it, but on a microphone, it's more like, it kind of screams at you. And the neighborhood I live in, there's condos, there's apartments, there's houses, and then there's a huge subdivision, and they're like 600,000 or something. But you would literally think it's Versailles. I mean, you would honestly think it is Versailles. They clean and garden and weed eat, and I've seen people mow dirt patches, like legitimate dirt patches. And it's pretty annoying, and I know that's definitely an entitled, privileged, first world problem. I totally get that. But ask anyone that records from home, it's highly annoying. So I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. They mow and do landscaping every day. It is every day, baby. It is every single day. And I kind of want to say to that, what I want to say is, you're not rich. You have a lot of debt and assets. There's a difference, hun. There's a difference. Okay, you have a Sam's Club card and you drive a Suburban. That's not wealth. That's not prestige. Those are assets. all of us, I feel, just need to kind of calm down. I wish everyone was just a little less caring what others think and a little more kind. And yeah, the nuisance of that, it is a thing. It feels like it happens in waves. It will be like 3 straight weeks, and then rain will happen and I will get some quiet time. So anyway, if I do sound different today, that was kind of a long rant. If I do sound different today, noisy neighbors. What can I say? They're still mowing and I can barely hear it, but I just went to the opposite edge of the house so that me and you guys could get caught up. And that is one thing I'm really trying to do. It's a new strategy that I am doing things quickly, not procrastinating, not putting them off. Like with my email, I'm checking my email quicker, and I feel that is making me more productive overall. So that's kind of a new thing for me. So I didn't put it off. I just came in here and pushed on through.
You can't eat that. You're too bulky. You're too skinny. You're too loud. You're too emotional. You don't belong here. You're asking for it. You don't look like you work out. You cry too much. You can't do that on your own.
So that is a clip from Women Make Waves podcast. One of its hosts, Laura Diallo, is going to be with us today, and she knows her stuff. When you want some really good expert niche advice in fitness, this is the girl to talk to. So we will be picking her brain today on how to be our best summer babe, and being really mindful about what that means, and to kind of steer away from toxic culture fitness show all day long. But we also want to make sure that we are keeping our mind fit and opened and nurtured. So this is going to have more of a mindful spin on it, with intuitive dieting, intuitive eating, and how that's kind of affected women, and maybe heal a little bit of that before we head into summer. Laura works for NCFIT, and she also has a wonderful Instagram full of adventure. So I really think she's going to drop some insight with us today, and I think you will really, really enjoy her. Now for our quote of the day, and I have a really good one for you guys. Challenges are gifts that force us to search for a new center of gravity. Don't fight them, just find a new way to stand. That is your girl Oprah. Oh yes. And I absolutely love this quote because I feel this past year has meant so many different things to so many different people. No one went through this past year exactly the same. But one thing I feel we all can agree on is that there were challenges. Even in the best case scenario, there was still fear and doubt and worry and our heart breaking for fellow man and all of this going on simultaneously. And when something is happening simultaneously, it takes a lot on our nervous system to process that. So this past year, regardless of if you were a lost everything type person, or you felt some wealth guilt that you weren't suffering, or you actually lost a loved one, or whatever the case may be, this past year came with a little bit of baggage. And I actually did a podcast on Babes Who Build about the pandemic afterglow. And what I mean by that is just some remnants, some I want to say clutter, some spiritual clutter, because we just went through something horribly traumatic, life-changing. History will never be the same. Probably for the rest of our lives, if we sneeze on someone, it's going to be it's a game changer now because of what we've experienced. And I know I really do feel, especially being Southern, that sometimes people are kind of pigeonholed into, well, don't be toxic positivity, or don't be too positive, or don't be Pollyanna. I think I'm saying that right, Pollyanna. Just, and what that means is that was actually a character, I believe, in a movie, and it's just someone that has their head in the sand and is just too positive. So understand that this quote can come across like, hey, you had challenges, but just get up. And I don't mean it that way. But at the same time, my whole pushback with being too positive is, what's the alternative? Being too depressed? So even though, just like when our parents gave us medicine and we didn't like the way it tasted, or when we know to put our phone up and go to bed, we don't necessarily like what is good for us, but we need to learn that we have to overcome challenges. That's part of life. And even though it does sometimes feel better to stay in the same energy, if we ever want to grow, we do have to kind of push through that. Now, there is another quote I really liked, so you get a bonus today because this one was absolutely amazing as well. Every day is a chance to begin again. Don't focus on the failures of yesterday. Start today with positive thoughts and expectations, by Catherine Pulser. Now, I have a morning mindset video. It's on my YouTube, Nashville Misty, I believe. It may be Misty Perry. There's so many Misties. It could be. I'll link it in the video. I always say that and I never do, but I actually am going to remember today. I made a video about morning mindset and just a few tips on that have really helped me. Number one, no phone the first hour of the day. That is the most important thing that you can do. You know, I have kids and they lay in bed and the first thing they do is start scrolling, and it like horrifies me because, you know, the first few moments before you go to sleep or before you wake up, your subconscious is open. You're more open to receive ideas and inspiration and be molded by others because you're open to that. So the first hour of the day should be sacred, and you don't have to do something weird. You just don't pick the phone up and let yourself wake up. And number two is to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with positive auditory books, positivity going in. If you absolutely try to not absorb any information all day, you still will, because you're waiting in the checkout. There's newspapers and magazines. People are going to tell you. I went 6 years without like cable television, no news. I went 6 years like that. And I still knew what was going on because people will tell you. So I'm very anti-consuming almost any mainstream news, although I do, but in very short. Like if there's a story and I want to know about it, I will go on and watch that. I mostly watch entertainment news and lifestyle because that's what I'm interested in. And the bottom line is, you are not going to be able to solve all the world's problems. You're not able to do that. And when you carry the weight of that with you everywhere you go, you become less effective to put positive change into the world because you won't have the energy to do that. You know, energy is the new currency. Energy is the new thing that people will desire and want as the masses continue to fall off to a low vibration. And what I mean by that is just because of how our world is set up with the fast food, fast information, it's set up so that we will like it. You know, when you go to a fast food restaurant, they know scientifically what you like, and they know how to mix the sweet and the savory and the crunch. And I read something this week that when we were cavemen and you would like take your venison and put it in the sea, that's how salt started. Cavemen figured out to put deer or elk or kibou or whatever they had. They would put that in the sea and make it salty. So originally, just having like meat and salt, that would be a meal, okay? So now we've got like meat, salt, chutney, wine. I mean, we're living everyday lavish. We're everyday Caesars. I mean, we are in these mini castles. So if you look at it from an evolutionary standpoint, We are not designed to be kind of tempted by all this information and all this food. It's not our core. It's not the core, the crux of who you are as a human being. So when you lend yourself to these temptations, and that's what they are, because they are not good for you, you will see slower results in your neurosystem and your reaction in your physical body and your health and your mind and your spirit. It will affect and seep into every area of your life because it's not good for you. It's not what you are designed for. So with that being said, I know that they specifically, and there's one fast food chain, which I will not mention, they put salt in their ice and they put extra sugar in their syrup so that when you get a sip of that soda product at that chain, you're getting that hit from your palate that's whew. And then you're associating that with positivity, and then you want to go back and you want to go back and you want to go back. So, and I'm not saying you cannot eat fast food. I eat fast food, but everything in moderation, and just be aware that your surroundings and the choices and the things you consume internally and externally do affect how you feel. So don't fall for the trap. Don't fall for the temptation. I eat out once a week, but I will go through a drive-thru more than that if I want. Like, there is a specific drive-thru that has kind of a diet tea, and I absolutely love it. And I love crushed ice from a particular popular place that you could probably figure out. So, for instance, I'm not saying don't go out, be a hermit, don't interact. I make it fun. I make it work for me. So if someone I'm with wants to go eat at one of these places, I will actually go with them and I'll eat before, or I will get something, with no bun and make it modified for myself. So make it fun. Bring your own stuff. I know there's a place I love the crushed ice. So I'll go through, get the crushed ice and extra lime, and then I will have like my own. I really like soda waters and flavored soda waters that have peach or berry, and I'll mix that with the lime and the crushed ice, and it's just like you're getting a treat, but without the side effects. So part of being a summer babe is protecting your mind and your body. But there is another part. You also want to heavily treat yourself to luxury. So our shout out of the day is actually an amazing place. Now, don't judge me when I tell you how I'm getting our massages under $100. I know, because it's just absolutely unbelievable. But this place is amazing. It's in Franklin. It's called Pure Life Massage and Wellness. They offer a variety of services, and how I'm getting this great deal is actually Groupon, which seems super cheesy. I will be more than happy to send you the link if you'd like, and if you go there, I promise you will not regret it. Now, it's not a super poshy salon and spa like what we may be accustomed to, but with the price, you can get a massage every week, not feel guilty. Right now it's $54 for an hour massage. So to get that summer body just in that right state, check them out. You won't regret it. It's Pure Life Massage and Wellness in Franklin, and I've had the most luxurious experiences there. I've really enjoyed it. Now, the first lady I used to go see actually moved, but she was also, I didn't know she was like a light worker, and so she was actually working on me, and I like deep tissue, I like Swedish. She's working on me, and as she's working on me, and she's playing, the forest music and the ambiance and all that stuff, and she said she saw something like in my aura, like in my chakra. And this was, okay, the first time I went there was like 6 years ago. So this was way before I really kind of got into chakra healing and all of that jazz. So I really didn't understand. I kind of understood, but she said, and she's not there anymore, so don't ask for this service because it's not even a service there. But she said, I see something. she said, I see something in your chakra. Can I remove it? And I said, is it bad? And she said, yes, this dark energy is attached to several of your chakras. And I said, sure, get rid of it. I don't want it. And I'm getting chills telling you the story. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. What an angel, right? Right. And back then, like 6 years ago, these $60 massages were $30. I think they started at $29. It's just unbelievable. And they're really good. So she's working on me and she's massaging me and everything. And she goes to remove whatever she saw in my aura. And she like presses really hard, kind of on my upper spine. She's like pressing. And as she's pressing, I'm feeling lighter. Like I'm feeling very light and very airy. And this is how one of the ways the universe gave me the sign to kind of start looking into mind-body connection. And as you guys know, I'm a huge Reiki fan, and our co-host on the show, Ashley, is actually a Reiki master. And I tell a story, I think in like it's labeled Reiki, it's in the 3rd or 4th episode. I go into this insane Reiki experience I had. I mean, visions, and it was in the woods. It was really crazy. But I digress. So she's like removing whatever she's seeing in my chakra. And I mean, mind you, I went for just a straight up massage. Like I went to use my Groupon, get my massage, and have a great day. As she's removing it, I'm feeling something change. I'm feeling a lightness. I'm feeling something. And since then, I've had several people work on me, work on my energy, work on my chakras, realign my this, realign that, and break soul ties and cut cords. And I've had all that done since then. But this was my first experience. And as a lay person who had not read or had any education in mind-body connection, I can tell you that I did feel lighter, and I knew something was happening, even though I could not articulate it. And when she was done, I'm not lying. I swear to you, when she was done, I was glowing. It was like a radiance. My skin, my countenance, my eyes were lighter. And my face was like lifted, kind of lighter, and I was glowing. And I remember going to the bathroom and coming out into like the lobby area, and the owner is a man, and everyone like just kind of looked at me. And I knew that they could see like whatever she had transformed. Then she was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And one thing about energy work is it makes you feel drunk. It gives you like it gives you this very airy, light feeling, which now I've learned I'm supposed to be grounding myself. They call it grounding. So when you have these spiritual encounters or experiences, you're supposed to ground back into earth. And it just basically has to do with your energy being so lifted that you can get kind of lightheaded, dizzy, and I'm already really giggly, silly, and you're supposed to do this thing where you like tap back down and ground into earth, but I never do. I like that feeling. So, but I felt intoxicated, and I wasn't. I had water all day, but I felt very light and very lifted. And all that just to say, take care of your body, because that's where all your emotions, all the good parts of you are stored, and you want to take extra special care of your body, because it's going to reward you, and you're going to have more to produce, more to give, and more energy. So Free People has great ideas on how to have a great start to your summer. And this is from freepeople.com. The first one is to start exfoliating now. So get your scrub on. I've got some great rose scrub that I bought at Pop Shop and absolutely love it. So I would highly suggest that. Start shaving all your legs, scrub it all down, and clean it up. Number 2, check your medicine cabinets. Did you know in the winter time that your steamy, hot, heat-filled house can actually mold, mildew, and rot? Ew, that's such a gross word. Rot some of your medicines. So check your medicine cabinet and open everything up. Make sure it's good to go and that no medications have expired. Reevaluate your skincare routine. Do you need to add a new sleep mask? Is there something that you need to add that you didn't need in the winter? For instance, if something has a heavy oil and a cream for dry skin, you don't necessarily need that for summer. So go ahead and X that and then add an SPF. Make sure that you're applying that to your hands, neck, your chest, and your face daily. You want to test out lighter makeup. You may not need a heavy makeup like we just said. So me personally, I have I believe it is a Flower BB cream plus skincare. I'm falling more and more in love with blending makeup and skincare and only buying products that have moisture or skincare elements to them, and definitely SPF. But me recently, I've been using a tinted BB by Flower. I mix that with a really good vitamin C primer and a really good chamomile primer. I mix all three together. I put it over my whole face and then I set it with a dew mist setting spray so that the setting spray is not adding a matte effect, it's actually adding a dewy effect. So high recommend all that. Stock up on sunscreen. Make sure you keep it by your door and in your car. If you cannot do sunscreen, grab a hat. Switch up your deodorant. If you've been waiting to try some new all natural deodorant, now is the time. Stop ignoring your feet. Make sure you get a pedicure. If you can't get a pedicure, you can they have a Holy Grail, I believe, Holy Grail foot. It's like a foot stick you can get in a drugstore. Oh, that will change your life. That and some pretty pink polish or really nice French pedicure is always a go-to for me. And don't forget to detox. You've been inside for a long time. It's time to come out. Get fresh produce, fresh greens that make your skin glow, and make sure that you're taking a really good probiotic and throw some kombucha in so that some good bacteria can get in your gut and fight that winter bloat. Also experiment with some vegan dishes. I have on my Pinterest a board called Vegan for Summer. I was vegan for a year and I really enjoyed and learned so much about nutrition and food during that process. And I would love to share those recipes with you. It is Nashville Misty on Pinterest. So follow me there and check out my recipes. Now for our celeb news of the day. So all the rage this week has been Rachel Hollis. And on my sister podcast, I did record a defense recording for her when the toxic positivity came out, which that was a month or two ago. And I did not know we were going to be doing back-to-back controversies with Rachel Hollis. And basically, if you don't know the controversy, here we go. And the shortest version to bring us up to date so you know what I'm talking about. Rachel Hollis is a Christian mom turned motivational speaker. She became famous because she posted a picture of her stretch mark body on the beach on Insta. And although she had a blog and had been seeking a record deal, that post went viral and the thing that she wanted happened. She got did I say record deal? Book deal. She got the book deal. Since then, she's became a huge sensation. She has done conferences. She has an app. She does fitness. She has multiple podcasts, multiple books, and a huge following of millions of people. Then the fallout. So the first controversy was when she filed for divorce and used it as a book launch. No criticism. Turn your pain into a plan. I get it. And the second one was due to toxic positivity, and then there have been baby controversies along the way. Some of those controversies allude to the fact that she promotes a message that there is only one person to blame if your life's not working. You are responsible for your destiny. And her messaging has turned a little bit more masculine over the years. She has gotten a little bit more aggressive. And here are my thoughts on Rachel Hollis. Now, first of all, I did not identify with her books. I've never bought her books. I'm not a fan. I don't follow her. The controversy interests me more than the material. And here's why. When I tell you, I think they've posted around 11 million views. Maybe there's been 1 million posts in regards to this. I know there's 11 million views on TikTok of people just talking about her latest. So I'm gonna let you listen to the clip, and then we're gonna talk about it.
You're right. I'm super freaking privileged, but also I worked my ass off to have the money to have someone come twice a week and clean my toilets. Rachel, your video and your...
Okay, so the core of the issue that people are feeling is that she has a sense of entitlement. She tagged some historical leaders that are marginalized people, and everyone basically, her fan base basically rose up and said, you're being entitled, you have no self-awareness, we don't like the way you refer to your housekeeper. And there was a huge backlash of her fan support. Now, here's what I think about it. Have I posted I hate Rachel Hollis video? No, I was never a follower. I don't feel betrayed by her because I never invested in her. I only got interested in Rachel Hollis when it became a controversy because I am interested in how her entire fan base is turning the tide on her, or at least a majority, or at least half or a third. And how how does that happen? How can you identify with someone so deeply on such a profound level? You make them a millionaire and then you tear them down. They're the same person. So this is my thought. Number one, if Rachel Hollis was a man, I don't feel that she would have to get canceled or explain these things. I do feel that when women make mistakes, there is zero room for error. It's almost as if you're a woman too. How dare you? How could you? But people are people. We do all make mistakes. Number two, people love her, but they don't like the her it took to get there. Let me rephrase. People love her, but they don't like her. They like her results, but they don't like her. So they want the result, but they don't like the toughness, the insensitivity, the grittiness. But the insensitivity and the grittiness is sometimes what can propel people to overcome obstacles. So I'm going to say it like this. If you're super empathic and you're super kind, sometimes those people do fall by the wayside. They have a harder time taking initiative, having those difficult conversations, pushing through hate. But someone may be less sensitive or just views things a little bit differently. They're going to be able to push through criticism, push through hate. We can use our last president, for example. I cannot think of a more polarizing, controversial person, but he does not stop. So if someone is really, really, really sensitive and really, really, really empathic, sometimes that's not a good thing in business. Sometimes in business, you do have to be tough. You do have to say what's on your mind right when you think it. And if Rachel Hollis wasn't that personality type, she wouldn't be where she is. So I think what we have here is the brashness of a high extrovert Gen X coming in direct conflict with the sensitive, empathic millennial women. And there's a difference there. I would say even some generational jealousy or some miscommunication, and I don't believe in canceling people. I do believe in forgiveness. I do believe in just unsubscribing and blocking. I don't have to come at you. I don't have to attack you. I don't have to address you. And that goes back to what I stated earlier about the news. As one person, you are not able to fix every situation everywhere. And at some point, we begin to take on all this news and criticism and gossip as our own personal battle. It was never your battle to begin with. Other people's choices were theirs. Your choices are yours. You're two separate people. Is it right to speak up for injustice? Absolutely. Is it right to absolutely drain yourself with toxic information all day? I would say not. So, my thoughts on Rachel Hollis is people loved her, but they don't like her. That is my final opinion on her. We are so happy to have Laura Diallo with us today. She is an NCFIT employee and helps people every day achieve their dream body. Also extremely intuitive with eating and eating disorders, as she has overcame her own fitness obstacles and finally found peace. She is launching a podcast along with several other women called Women Make Waves, which features inspiring women who have overcome problems, tragedies, and obstacles in their own life. Laura, thank you so much for being here today. It's so cool that you mix your passion with a real job. I think that is the coolest thing ever. And can you just kind of share with my audience how you got started, how you knew this was the path, and what kind of led you there?
Yeah, for sure. So, okay. When I was first starting out, like let's say in college, I had this dream that, chase your passion and it will become your career. And if you can marry those two, then you're set for life, right? Like, I think that's a narrative that a lot of us have been taught. And I ended up taking a job, which what I loved, being a professional athlete. And I soon realized that, your passion can easily become it can be destroyed, right? If you make it your profession. So that was a huge learning experience for me. Something that I loved so much kind of became just going through the ropes. And after that experience, I was able to step back and reassess and create what I think is the most important thing in boundaries, between what you love and your work. So right now, in my job, I have an amazing job working in a marketing design, especially, in the fitness industry, which I love, but I'm very cognizant to create boundaries between, okay, this is what I do because I love it. This is my job. And there's a line in the sand there. So I don't get burnt out on either of those two things. Does that make sense?
That's absolutely beautiful. And I really and thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we connected online. That's one good thing about the internet.
Yes.
So we get to connect because we always hear there's so much bad, but one really great thing is we get to find other people and get inspired, and you definitely inspire me. And that one part that you said really stuck out to me, and the professional athlete part, which we'll go back to, but that you don't want to do your passion for a living because you'll burn out. But you led into that with do what you love, but so there's like a shadow side of doing what you love. You want to do something you love, but not necessarily your passion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I kind of used to think of it in a black and white way, right? Like, you're either doing something you're passionate about and winning, or you're working a job that you don't necessarily like to be able to afford your passion. And that, I mean, black and white thinking is a whole other the realm we could dive into, but I'm trying to find, and I think I've done a great job of finding that middle ground of, I have a job that, I feel I'm very good at, that allows me to pursue my passion, in other areas.
Right. It's kind of the, I call it the seed money or the seed structure to your life.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that one funnel that feeds the other baby funnels that are your actual passions. And I think I really relate to that because of real estate. So I would not consider real estate my primary passion, but I can do it and enjoy it and not burn out. And it complements what I think is my true passion, which is my children and entertainment and my podcast. And so I think I really get what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%. And like, at the end of the day, I mean, if we have that positive feedback of working somewhere and we're doing a good job, that's incredibly fulfilling. No matter, what industry you're in, just knowing you're putting forward good work, and getting that fulfillment, that's huge. And that helps you grow in every aspect.
Yeah, I think millennial women put way too much pressure on themselves to like kill the 9 to 5
Yeah.
and go live lav. But there's a lot of steps. But I mean, I feel there's just there can be a lot of steps to transition to
Oh,
that.
100%, 100%. And as millennials, I think most of us were raised with the mindset of work really hard and you can do anything you put your mind to. And that sounds great, but it's also an incredibly daunting thing when there's no threshold of working hard. When it turns into, okay, if I work really hard, everything will come to fruition for me. And then next thing you know, you're burnt out, you're trying to control situations you can't control, and nothing seems to be falling into place. And what I found is kind of like rewriting that narrative and trying to take the
Sure.
type A that I know myself to be and tone it down a bit. And honestly, the most magical things sometimes happen when you relinquish that control, and the universe kind of just, falls into place for you.
Yeah, I think my life probably, I would have not been able to architect what it looks like, but I kind of went with how it felt, not necessarily a goal. And I was thinking yesterday, or actually this morning, I went and had a nail appointment, and then I went to buy stuff for the kids, and then I knew we were going to talk. And I'm doing real estate at the nail salon. I'm texting, I'm working on my phone. I'm getting home, and that probably sounds like a lot of craziness, and that was all before 11 a.m. But I love it. That's custom to my personality. So I don't think I could have even scripted it. But when you go with your intuition and what feels really right, you can end up in a wonderful place. And women put way too much pressure. I mean, way too much pressure on it has to look a certain way, or it has to be in this box, because there really is no script. It's your life. It can look however, no
Yeah,
shame.
100%. And it's beautiful that you've found that for yourself. And that's such a hard thing. I mean, for women, and I'm sure for men too, but especially for women growing up, just kind of being placed in a box of, you need to act this way, you need to, XYZ, this is how your life is going to be laid out.
Right.
And breaking free from that barrier and kind of realizing, at a certain time in your life that, okay, there are other ways my life can, unravel. And maybe I'm not this person that I've been painted out to be. And that kind of self rediscovery is a beautiful thing, which leads you to be authentic in everything you do. And then, for me, that's when the universe really started to put things together.
Yeah, those like cracks where the light can come in,
Yeah.
just those like, and they're like, oh, I see something there.
Yeah, exactly.
Destiny, I see you, baby.
There's like a mirror shining. You're like, oh, is that me? Is that me?
Is that sparkly over there? I think I want to move in that direction. That's awesome. Okay, so I did not know you were a professional athlete. That's why you look so good. And I know you probably hate that. You're like, stop it, body image. But what sport did you play?
So growing up, I was always a runner, still am a runner. That's my biggest thing. But when I turned professional, I was actually a professional horse, like equestrian. So show jumping. I trained horses, and I also trained riders. So that was, aside from running growing up, that was my absolute passion, was riding horses, jumping horses, competing, and turned the table and went pro. And, it was a wonderful experience of such hard work. But, at the end of the day, it just became work to me. And that was my big learning lesson there. Now, fitness has always been in competition ingrained in me since I was younger. I think growing up with a brother might do that to you. And now I'm competing in trail running, and I also work for a fitness company. So it's been a thread in my life for forever.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. So so if you're in that world, how many different levels and things are there? Are there people that just show horses? Are there people that just jump? Are there people that just ride? Or is it all mixed together?
Yeah, it's a super interesting industry because everyone is united by their love. Well, most people are united by the love of the animal. And there are people at the top tiers, Olympians competing. And then there's you're underneath that. There's the high level, amateur classes and professional classes. And then you get to, as you trickle down and down and down to, unfortunately, it comes down to finances, and the less and less money people have to spend in the arena, you get to places where people have horses in their backyards and they're just trail riding, or they're jumping in their homemade arenas. And for me,
and that's more Western style, right? So there's Western and then there's European. So Western would be rodeo.
Yes.
Right?
And then the English riding is the show jumping, which what I competed in and trained in. And, kind of what I realized was, number one, I'm in this because I love the animals. And it got to the point where I was just, riding horses for money, or to, for a client to do XYZ, where I think I really just wanted to be riding my own horse in my backyard again,
It most definitely can burn out. I know, well, this is on a much smaller important scale, but I made hot chocolate bombs this past winter. As an entrepreneur, and I have multiple businesses, I just saw a huge gap in the market. Like, there are not, and I predicted this in August 2020, there's not going to be enough hot chocolate bombs to give to people because of Corona, because of all these things. So I'm a baker, and I get in this white zone. I don't know how you are when you're in your zone, but I get in like this white zone when I cook, and it's like my brain goes clear.
Oh, yeah, 100% know what you're talking about.
My son says that's the flow, and he says he finds the flow in gaming, and he says I'm in the flow, and so it's almost a spiritual or a sacred experience. And I know we're talking about cooking, but to me, I get really creative, and I'm going to plate it this way. And I get really excited, probably like a man in football or something. And so I'm like, I'm going to do this hot chocolate bomb business. And girl, I did. I ordered all my stuff. I did it. I delivered like in custom packaging. I mean, that's really incredible. Over the top. And I had custom flavors like Starbucks peppermint and all these custom flavors. And I trained myself on how to make a hot chocolate bomb from YouTube. And I was so sick of it. I was like, I have to stop, because they ordered, I can't remember. I think I did 250 deliveries, and that's with baking and delivering, and I burn out. I was like, I have to stop. But it was really confusing. I was just thinking about this, because I'm like, if I loved it, why did I have to stop? But I knew I had to stop or I would never cook again. I'm like, I can't. I just want to cook in my own home.
Yeah. First of all, props to you. That's an incredible thing to do in the midst of a pandemic, and to just realize that gap and go headfirst into it. That takes a lot of confidence and courage. So incredible for that.
Thank you.
And number two, as far as the Zen state, couldn't agree more. I mean, in my life, running, horseback riding, mountaineering, I'm totally in that like blank brain space and chasing that blank brain space. And then the other thing you said was just like exactly like something you love so much, and then it becomes a full-time job, and all of a sudden you're finding yourself, becoming resentful of that thing. So like having those boundaries, and it's so hard to find them, is so important, especially for an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And people are still messaging me, and I know you understand this, to have to tell them no, like have to turn down money. Yeah. And they were like, well, we really love them, please. And I'm like, no, no more hot chocolate bombs for you. They're like, if you ever sell anything again with food, you have to tell us, because one person would tell another person and like, oh my God, this girl's amazing. You have to try our chocolate. And they're still emailing emailing me, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
That's
I'm not
over.
doing it.
Doors closed there. It's
I know.
spring.
It's like we're going to end on a high note. And in the restaurant, I'll just say this in closing on that. I love food and I'm getting a sommelier's license so much. But what I realized is that I have to be the owner. So like, that's kind of my boundary with that. Like, I can't cook for thousands of people. Like,
Yeah.
I would end up hating it, but I could definitely be the owner and like come and have a mimosa, watch people work. Like, that's my next level. Okay. So one of the things we really connected on is empowering women, self-esteem, fitness. Can you give my female listeners some tips on gym intimidation and how to get over that mental struggle to just go in a gym? What advice would you give them?
Yeah. Oh man. All right. So there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, first of all, anyone going to a gym the first time even me, who's been in this industry for forever, who's been going to the gym for as long as I can remember, if I go to a new gym, I still get that little like butterfly feeling.
What is that feeling? And you get it like when you're getting dressed, you're like, oh my God, they're going to make fun of me. I mean, it's just this head trip thing. What is it?
It's like that first day of school thing where you're like, okay, who's going to be in my class? Is anyone going to even want to talk to me? Those kinds of things. But so from a logistical standpoint, I mean, before you go in, do your research and make sure it's a fit for you, right? Make sure they have forms of movement that you'll enjoy, whether that's, if you really enjoy the elliptical, if you enjoy the weight room, if you want a group class environment. So that's like your ground floor, and make sure it's a good fit. Step 2, always call, and you'll get a really good sense of what the vibe is in there when you call, whether it's like, a total bro just giving you the runaround, or whether it's someone who genuinely seems like they care about your journey and want to welcome you into the community. So then, getting those steps in line, finding the match, or finding maybe 1 to 2 matches, and then you've just got to get yourself in there, right? So our brains can go into that thought spiral, right? Of, oh my God, like, what do I wear? I'm not going to fit in. I'm not muscular enough to go to this gym. There's going to be all guys in the weight room. How do I pick up the weight? I'm going to look dumb with small weights. I mean, I think we all know that narrative. But actually getting yourself up, and you just have to, what I do is when I hear those thoughts, whether it's here or any other place in my life, I have like this other part of my brain that comes in and just says, oh my gosh, thank you so much for letting me know like all of these things that could happen. It's great to see you. Thank you for being here. I'm just going to do it anyway, and we'll see what happens. And I'm always brought back to that like worst case scenario.
Okay. Where did you hear, because I will tell you where I first heard that and how it dramatically changed my life. Where did you hear that?
Oh man, let me see if I can remember. I think it was just from years of intensive therapy being drilled over and over again in me to A, recognize negative voices, and B, talk back to them.
Okay, that's probably 20 years worth of therapy. So if you're listening to this podcast, go back about 30 seconds and listen to what she said. Laura, I heard it in the Louise Hay, one of Louise Hay's books. So I do a lot of audio books. I do all of them, all that I can. And she said that fear is a friendly reminder telling you exactly what you just said. And that you can talk back to it and like put it to bed and like, thank you for doing your job, fear. I know you're trying to keep me alive. I know you're trying to keep me safe. And I know that because of you, I don't just walk out into the street. You serve a great purpose, but I've got it from here. So that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And, we were evolved to have that ego to protect ourselves, but we do live in a dangerous world in other ways, but, in a lot of ways, yes, that serves us, but you have to recognize the situations in which it might not be serving you. And walking into the gym for the first time is definitely one of those situations. If you're mid-workout and it's burning really bad and you're struggling to keep up, but but you're okay, you can also hear that voice in your head being like, oh, let's stop, let's slow down. How about we just take a quick break? And that's another opportunity for you to just pipe in and say, oh, cool, I hear you. I know my legs hurt. Thank you so much. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. I think you definitely have to do that. I've talked to you a little bit about gym etiquette, and okay. So when I went to my current, when I waddled in after Corona, because I had all those feelings, but I'd been at that gym off and on my entire life, like 20 years. So it was a very familiar space. And I still got that feeling. I'm like, what is this feeling? It's so weird. And what I've noticed is after Corona, there's no women in there. And this is a family gym. It's not I don't want to drop any big names, but it's not a bro gym, as you said. It's a family gym. How would you handle, and like I said, there's probably 2 women to every 50 men. How would you handle inappropriate looks or staring? And I don't know if I'm being, well, I don't think there is oversensitive. I'm sorry. I think it's overgifted. But how would you handle men moaning or standing too close to you? How do you, as a woman, and it's sad that we even have to have this conversation, how do you say something without being perceived as the aggressor when you feel violated?
Oh man, I mean, okay, 2 things that you said that really sparked in me what you kind of said, I don't know if I'm being oversensitive, or so that in itself, the fact that you just said that in response to men overstepping boundaries, I mean, that is a narrative that needs to be unpacked, that we've taught our whole lives, right? We're conditioned to think that it's our fault that we're getting looks, that we're receiving this type of feedback, that, oh, maybe if I wasn't doing this exercise, then this guy wouldn't do XYZ, or maybe if I was wearing something less revealing. And it's like, no, we can wear whatever we want, and we have a right to act any way we want. And there is no excuse for a man to stand too close to us, leer at us, say whatever it is. You know what I mean? The onus isn't on us, it's on them. And to circle back and actually, in a very roundabout way, answer your question. For me, I get into that zone that you were just talking about, that Zen zone, where I have my AirPods in, and I try to just my best focus on what I'm doing, right? If there's somebody in there who time and time again is leering or making me incredibly uncomfortable, it's really hard, but be incredibly firm and just say, hey, you mind just like keeping your eyes to yourself, and just having a conversation with them. And if that doesn't work, I usually just bring it up to management and say, hey, there's an issue here. I feel uncomfortable in this space, because you have to feel comfortable in your gym, right?
Yeah. And well, I had so many emotions, and I know it's such a small topic, Laura, but if it affected me in such a major way, because, and I don't know why it bothered me, and
it's incredibly violating, right?
Well, the moaning.
Yeah.
And well, we're in 2 different environments too. Let me just state that. You're in California. Is it San Diego?
Yes, San Diego.
Okay. Laura's in San Diego. Have you lived there your entire life?
I have not. I've only been here for a little under 2 years. I've been all over the place, but I was born in the East Coast.
Okay, so Laura is in California from the East Coast. I am in the deep state South. I'm in Tennessee, and I'm not only in Tennessee, Laura. I'm in like, let me just tell you what hole that I'm calling you from. So I am outside of Nashville, and I'm in a poshy community, but it is very traditional. Yeah. Like, I mean, very traditional, which is a whole nother thing. So there are some cultural differences probably from where we are, but that's a whole nother conversation. So maybe it's affecting me more because I'm getting more of it. But I do try to block it out. And something you said was really interesting is that I immediately when it happens, I look down at myself and I think maybe I shouldn't have worn this top. Maybe I need to make sure my butt is covered. Maybe I need to not run or bounce, on the elliptical. Maybe I can do it without bouncing. And just when you said that, I realized how draining this whole thing is. Like, I shouldn't even be having to do that. Why? So, but one thing I did say to myself is I'm not going to stop coming. They're not going to intimidate me or run me off. I can switch gym memberships later, but I wanted to get a handle on that internal dialogue because I don't want to be pushed around either. And I thought about writing a letter because this is just writing a letter stating my perception as a woman of the gym, and maybe someone would read that and take that into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, props to you for not letting that hold you back. That's it. That's amazing. And I have to say, the environment that I work out in, the gym I go to, they've created such a wholesome environment that I don't experience that right now. Not saying that I haven't experienced it in the past. I think we all have. But I'm so, just hearing you speak makes me so, so grateful for that. But I think a letter would go a long way. And I think, if that is happening wherever you're working out, for anybody listening, find another place because it's the management's responsibility to create an atmosphere that welcomes everyone and to shut down behavior like that.
Yeah. And, there's moaning. There's like a lot of moaning and things like that. And it's like, it's next level. And I think that's why a lot of women graduate to classes or a more female owned centered gym. You can feel it when you walk in. You can feel the energy of that gym. Like, is this a fit? Is this not a fit? Taking a tour is a great idea. I think I've had a gym membership everywhere in my city. Taking a tour is great. I go into some gyms and there's no issue whatsoever. So this is definitely an isolated incident. I think overall, just finding the right fit is easy to do because most gyms want customers. So
yeah, especially right now. But to the token, you were saying group classes are a great way, if that's something that's really been an issue for anyone listening. I mean, it's almost like a school atmosphere, right? You have a trainer, a teacher, and everyone's on their best behavior there.
It definitely feels more safe. So what are your top 3 gym etiquette advice, like your top 3, if you had to give someone who's new to the planet and they're walking into a gym, what are the top 3 tips?
In terms of, am I speaking to females or to males or both?
Both. Just generic over, a lot of people will join gyms this summer, so that may give some insight.
Number 1, please don't speak to anybody while they're working out. That drives me crazy if someone comes up to me and starts trying to chat, right? Like, that's great before or after class, but in the middle of a workout, just don't be that guy. Number 2, I think, from a more internal perspective, getting in to the gym, always know that getting there is the hardest part of the equation. The workout isn't the hardest part. It's walking in the door, and congratulate yourself on the fact that you did that. And then when you're in the gym, find movement that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy lifting weights, then don't lift weights. If you enjoy the treadmill, run on the treadmill. This is something we have to make sure that we're not doing this to change ourselves, but to enjoy what we're doing. The third thing I would say, just in terms of, living a healthy lifestyle, incorporating the gym into it, is to start incredibly small with your goals. If you're walking into the gym for the first time this summer and your goal is to train for a marathon or to, lose 30 pounds, let's start somewhere that's a little bit more achievable. Let's start somewhere so small that you look at that and you say, oh, I can do that. Or maybe your goal is, I'm going to go to the gym twice a week. You don't start out with, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week. And then you get the 2 times a week and you're like, okay, cool, pat on the back. Do that for a couple of weeks. And then maybe you add the third day. A lot of times we get into, especially in exercise, kind of this crazy goal setting of, I've never run 5 miles before, but I'm training for a half marathon. And then all of a sudden, you're not reaching that goal and the wheels fall off. So those would be my top 3 tips. Don't talk to anybody while they're working out. Reward yourself for getting in there, get in your zone, and then set small, achievable goals.
Those are fantastic. Those are amazing. And I also want to add, do not show women how to use the equipment. And do not come over there and try to show me how to do something, because even if I don't know, I would like to figure it out. And then I don't want to talk. Like, I usually have headphones on. So please stop showing us how to use stuff. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Headphones are the sign that we do not want to be spoken to.
Right. And when they start talking, just pretend like, oh, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we had also talked about body dysmorphia. And do you want to share anything with that going into summer? Things women can look out for with eating disorders and toxic diet culture. What are your thoughts on that going into this summer? I feel like everyone feels a little beaten up because of 2021 mentally and physically. So we really have to take that time for wellness now. And any input you have is amazing.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to see. I would imagine that this is going to be a really hard-hitting summer for advertising as far as diets and fitness plans, because the majority of us, not speaking for all of us, but have maybe decreased exercise, increased eating over, the pandemic, because we're going through a crazy historical life-altering event, and that is okay that happened. There's nothing wrong with you if you gained weight, right? So anyway, I would think that marketing will be really crazy in terms of lose weight, eat this, not that, blah, blah, blah. The thing that helps me the most looking, when I see messages like that, is just knowing that it's part of a system that is built to sell, right? The system is there to sell something. There has to be something wrong. So advertisers create this idea that there's something wrong with our body, with women's bodies. Oh, your butt looks like this, that's wrong. Here's how to get a, bigger butt. Here's how to get abs, because if you don't have abs, you're wrong. To buy into their products, to buy into the diet, to do whatever to generate revenue. So that has, for me, taken me out of the feeling of feeling wrong and feeling fat or feeling not beautiful or whatever it is, and brought my logical brain in to say, okay, pause. This message makes you feel like shit. However, it's not speaking directly personally to you. Does that make sense? I don't know if I just totally rambled.
No, that's amazing and beautiful. And I really noticed it when I began to learn about skincare, because I've had, some tweaking and Botox. And when I actually talked to scientists and doctors and found out all these serums I've been buying my whole life don't do anything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a gamut. It's a trick on women's, feeding off insecurity in order for profit. So women insecurity equals profit. And when I found out, and this is actually on my last podcast, the number one way to have good skin is hydration. And in scientific studies, it doesn't even matter what kind. They took the cheapest, like drugstore cheapest, put it up against, and this was a whole expose that they did. Of course, it doesn't get news coverage. And then the number 2 way is to be cosmetically altered, but none of the major ways have anything to do with all the products I've bought into. So yeah, I definitely think that having us hate ourselves is very profitable.
And 100%. And I mean, the skincare industry, I mean, that's such a great metaphor for, the health and fitness industry too. I mean, you have the keto diet, the Atkins diet, Whole30. There's a million and one of them, right? But tell me one person who started keto and stayed on it for the rest of their life successfully and been happy and fulfilled. I'm not sure that exists. Or tell me someone who's done the 30-day, ab challenge and they just say, you know what, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life because I love this. This is amazing. I don't know. I've never met anybody like that. But essentially, like, these diets are created to be unsustainable. So you finish the keto diet and you're looking for the next one, right? So for me, like, my biggest advice would be to reject diets and diet mentality because it's not going to serve you. And B, just focus on, as best you can, consistent nutrition, consistent movement that you enjoy, because that is going to be the ultimate driver for you. If you enjoy running, then run. If you enjoy yoga, do yoga. And just maintaining consistent, healthy nutrition that, allows you to eat cookies and ice cream and, whatever it may be, or chips, but also having a balance with food that nourishes your body and soul.
Yeah, and whenever I get really lost, because I actually saw a TikTok and it said, tell me that okay, it was something to the effect of, tell me that you are addicted to diet culture as some form of either body dysmorphia or trauma or addiction, something of that nature. And then she showed all these things and it was all me. And I was like, wow, okay. Cause I've done it all, like the intermittent fasting, which is really not eating because I just don't want to eat because my blood sugar spiked and all this stuff going on. The green juice, the keto, was the Palm Beach, the carnivore, the fruitarian. I was vegan for a year. I mean, and all that virtue signaling with, oh my God, I do this, do that. I mean, that's a whole culture. That is a culture that we operate in. And I think that wall is starting to fall a little bit, but it does kind of make you feel good. Just oat milk for me. I don't know if that's, it may be pride or some type of projection, but my kids call me on it all the time. Oh, that's
amazing.
They're like, did you have to modify it? I said, I said it nicely. They're like, Mom, it's like, whoa, way too much, so they put me in check all the time. And whenever I'm kind of coming slowly out of that, mainly because my son is an athlete. And he's very good. And he works out year round. He's in a gym, I would say 5 days a week, and he's solid muscle. Solid. I mean, solid. In the best shape I've ever seen of anyone in my family. And he's consistently telling me to just eat real food and work out. It's not complicated.
I mean, the whole world tries to overcomplicate it, and then our brains get trapped in this like Alice in Wonderland spiral.
What's the key out? I want to be bone thin and do absolutely nothing.
I feel do it? Sitting at the Mad Hatter, that tea party, and those are all of the different diets talking to me, and I'm just spinning around. It's really horrible, but it's the most simple formula. Just eat real whole foods and move your body in a way that's joyful to you. And consistency is the biggest thing.
And whenever I get lost now, I just tell myself, just eat real food and move your freaking body. Like that's all you have to do. And it's, we're such an entitled people to have this much time to even make it,
to even think about that, right? There are people out there who this isn't even on their list of anxieties. And we're out here wondering how we can, make the most of the hour of exercise we put in each day. It is an incredibly
the worst thing about like diet culture is when people selling a lot of these products will say things like, well, don't drink the shake that has any sugar. and then you end up eating a Whopper. And I'm like, how did you help me? Like, how did you really help me? I was drinking the protein shake with a little sugar, but now I'm binging on a Whopper because you told me I couldn't have that. And I can't find the no sugar alternative. They make it so hard that you fall off the wagon, like you were saying with exercise. Whereas if you just stay a level course, you'll eventually get there. It may take time. And that's the big thing with our culture is just, it's going to take time for you to get there, but that's okay. That's life. Enjoy the process. But no one wants to hear enjoy the process. They don't.
No, they don't. And just to hit on what you just said, I mean, being in the marketing and advertising industry and going to school for that, I mean, advertising is based on psychology. Design is based on psychology, things that we don't even know. The average consumer doesn't know that their brain does. So in terms of, bringing it back to what you were saying about the shake and the Whopper, if someone tells you not to do something and not to eat something, your brain goes into an abundancy mindset, and it's going to binge on those things that you can't have. Maybe it doesn't happen right away. Maybe it happens in a year, right? But it's going to be like, oh my God, you told me I can't have Oreos. Then all of a sudden you're thinking about Oreos. And then all of a sudden you've binged on Oreos because your brain's told you can't have it. Same way when we tell, this is another example, but kids, oh, you guys can't drink alcohol. How many underage drinkers do we have out there? Right. And I'm not sure.
In Europe, it's not a big deal. There,
not an issue.
They don't glamorize this shame culture of forbidden fruit. Yes. They're like, you want to taste wine? Taste some wine. And the kid's like, gross. This tastes disgusting. But here they're like, shotgunning on the beach, 40s and whatever.
Yeah. Which is just another tactic, in the diet mentality of you can't have sugar. Okay, let's see how long you can do that for before you eat too much sugar, feel horrible, and go into a negative loop of then restricting again on your sugar intake.
So what did you think about the Demi Lovato froyo controversy?
I am not aware of that. I would love to hear what that is.
Okay. So Demi, of course, I'm not going to go into my celebrity news voice like instantly. Well, Demi, I know her. Demi, she's had all these issues and issues with food, and people really relate to her on that. And that kind of plays into her addiction and therapy. So she goes, she's doing a new thing now where she's against diet. She calls it diet culture vultures. And companies that prey on women and diets, exactly what we're talking about. She goes into LA and goes into a froyo shop. I'm not going to say the name. And she was triggered because there were sugar-free options. And she went online and tried to cancel the business. The business responded and said, we are giving customers healthy alternatives by offering sugar-free and, for health issues, things like that. And I was just wondering your take on that. You may want to look it up because that's exactly right down your avenue. Exactly.
Yeah, I would. I really need to see that. I'm really wondering, it's such a hard issue to unpack, right? Because if you have a legitimate health concern, like if you are diabetic and, that is, I would say, a healthier option for you, right? To have something that's an option of froyo that's lower in sugar if you have a medical condition. But for people who have struggled with eating disorders, body dysmorphia, you name it, something like that is incredibly triggering. And I would think it's more, the solution would be in the communication of something like that, right? So making sure it's communicated in a way that doesn't trigger people who are walking in for something that's probably very difficult for anyone who's had a background with any type of eating disorder or anything like that to go into a froyo shop, in and of itself.
Right. That's exactly what Demi said. Demi said, you guys don't understand. Like, it was already hard to get to that point. And when she walked up to get her whatever she was getting, which wasn't diet, when she walked past the row of diet products, she walked out of the shop and could not eat all weekend. Sent her off edge, gone.
Yeah, I've had many experiences like that. And part of me is like, oh, it's my own issue. But you know what? It's not. If you label the products as diet products, and something that also drives me crazy, that's really hard for me going into places when the calories are displayed on the menu. And I understand that it's there because we have an overwhelming issue of obesity in this country, especially. But the other facet of that coin is that eating disorders are the second deadliest mental illness, and
What?
that
Really?
it's right behind, I want to say opiate addiction, second deadliest mental addiction disorder. And if people are going into places and going to a restaurant, for most people with this issue is absolutely terrifying. And then you see, oh, this thing that I was thinking about eating has X amount of calories, and now I'm totally in a tailspin. Or going into a yogurt shop and seeing 15 diet labeled yogurts with calories next to it, that's absolutely terrifying. So
Right.
there has to be a balance in the communication.
Yeah, and I don't look at it because, oh my gosh, I've never said this to anyone. I don't look at the calories on the menu because I won't eat.
Yeah, that's how I am too.
I intentionally don't look. I'll glance and see what I'm ordering and then shut it or look away, because if I saw it, I wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't.
And that's how I am too. And it's so sad that it's like that a lot of us do that. I mean, I went through a phase where I would have whoever I was eating with, and this is a great tactic, look at the menu before me and let me know if there were calories on it, or, they would read me off the items and stuff like that. But I just wish there was something, maybe there is something we can do to just bring more attention to the issue, where we have two really significant health problems of obesity, but then also people who are going through, things like anorexia and bulimia and orthorexia. And there has to be a balance in communication from restaurants and grocery stores and, anywhere where you get your nourishment to communicate to all of those groups of people at the same time in a way that gets messages across, but isn't so polarizing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so mindful. And I love that. Well, I think the cause of obesity is actually psychological fear, and people don't leave their homes and they're not getting human connection because of social media. And so there's just a psychological breakdown in our culture, and that caused the obesity epidemic. That's my theory. It's my theory, because
it's not a bad theory. If that didn't cause it, it's definitely a huge variable.
Because it didn't start until social media came out. We did not have these obesity rates. It was not an issue. Kids played outside, and the murder rate is actually the lowest it's like ever been in history. But because of fear porn and television, it's fear. I mean, that's okay. Yeah. That's my theory. I'll write a thesis that no one cares about. One more question. Ready for that. Thank you. One more question. You're an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show. One question, and then we're going to play a game. So your Instagram travels, what is your favorite place that you've been?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Favorite place that I have been by far, of my heart place, is the Eastern Sierra in California. Those mountains bring me home every time I'm up there. I dream about it consistently. And I think the tie to that would be Paris. I'm obsessed with Paris.
Okay. Tell me the name of the mountains again.
The Eastern Sierra mountain range. It's
Eastern Sierra. And you feel like that's a coming home place for you? Like energetically, you feel really connected?
Very connected. I just have an incredible pull there to be up at altitude in those mountains for days on end.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay. So give us all your plugs. Tell us where people can find you.
Yeah. So if you would like to connect with me, which you should, my Instagram is at Laura, LAURA Diello. And that's pretty much a mouthful. So I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes. Aside from that, I'm also a co-host on the Women Makes Waves podcast, which you can find on Spotify or Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. It's a podcast dedicated to elevating the voices of badass women we find ourselves surrounded with. So would definitely love for you guys to check that out and connect with me on Instagram.
All right, absolutely amazing. We're going to play a game and then say our goodbyes. So right now we're going to play Instagram roulette. I'm going to scroll through your Instagram and I'm going to tell you the picture and then you can tell me exactly what you are doing.
Okay, this is super fun.
All right, let me go. I try to go really far back.
Oh, no.
Let it load really good. So we can find out. Okay, it's so tropical. Okay. It's you in a jumper, wedges in front of a marina and a pool.
Oh, is it a sunset? Or, am I holding a glass of wine?
You are holding a drink. It's like a cup. Oh, this is really old.
Oh, yes. I remember this. This is very old. This is when I was in Miami at a competition for when I was horseback riding professionally, and we went to an amazing hotel for dinner. And I don't know if you can see it in that picture, but I'm like 6 shades of pink sunburn. So
it's a great picture. It's a beautiful picture. I just liked it. So maybe I'll bump it into the feed. I just liked it and put a bunch of fire signs. It's a stunning picture. You look so happy.
I was so happy and I was so sunburned.
Aw, yeah, it's 2016. So that's a flashback. Well, Laura, thank you for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think your mission to empower women is a spiritual, holy one. And I just wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much. It was so wonderful connecting with you.
Okay, have a blessed weekend. Bye. Laura, thank you again for being on the show. Your insight and your unique way of seeing issues that men and women both face in fitness and diet are very inspiring to me, and I know that they will help my listeners become that summer babe that they've always wanted to be. Thank you so much. And now for our beauty tip of the day, face shaving. Yes, ladies, you're supposed to be shaving your face. Now, this is the last segment of the podcast, and I know you didn't think it would end by me telling you to shave your face, but it's a thing. So peach fuzz on your face and on your jawline is, well, it's the new mustache, okay? So ladies who are your spa level, your treatment level, who are really in tune with what's going on in beauty will tell you need a face razor. Now, the ones for women look a little bit different. It looks kind of like a tiny, tiny, tiny straight razor at the end of a little stick. And these nice little face shavers, you lay flush with the skin and you just softly go at it. So you want to make sure you hit your entire jawline, all around your mouth, and a little bit under your eyes. Be very safe. There's lots of YouTube videos on this, and you should be shaving your face around 3 days a week. That little shaver also works great on eyebrows, which I believe is why it was created. So you just hit the whole face, I would say 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, something like that, to keep your skin fresh. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to make your makeup look better. Your primer is going to absorb directly into your skin, and it's going to give you an overall flawless, beautiful look. And that is a whole show. It is a wrap. I'm so glad that you spent this time with me today. I hope you learned some information and feel fully confident to be that summer babe that I know you can be. I will see you out there. Be safe, and don't forget, if you would like to send in a question, I absolutely love those at hello@mistyperry.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Also follow me, Nashville Misty, on all socials. And do me a favor, love someone today. Have a good one.